I'm with Stephen Lussier, CEO of De Beers Forevermark at the Dubai Diamond Conference. Stephen, you said some really interesting things in the panel discussion, and the thing I want to ask you about is the marketing of this sustainable value or this, long-term preciousness that you talked about. So how are you going about that with Forevermark, and what would you say to the rest of the industry ought to be done?
Do you know, I think the diamond is such an extraordinarily and multifaceted thing when it comes to consumer. There's so many different parts we have to talk about. You know, clearly, in a world where things are getting increasingly rare and precious and valuable, things people desire to have them, we need to emphasize that part of the natural diamond, that it's 1 billion years old, the world's not making any more, we're lucky to have them, and they're going to be increasingly precious and valuable, and I think that will motivate more consumers to want them. But at the same time, we've also got to emphasize this positive impact that the natural diamond has, particularly on people, particularly from the developing world where most diamonds come from, the lifting up of people's lives through the revenues that natural diamonds create, and everything that the natural industry is doing to protect the environment and to fight this battle against climate change. And so I'm really proud of our story, but we need to combine those two elements and tell that in a new way to a new consumer group.
So you did say that there's a new generation coming up that doesn't read newspapers, only watches sports on TV. That was a very interesting thing you said. So what ought to be the strategy targeting this group that's going to be our core consumer in, say, 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, the marketing that we did as an industry 10 or 15 years ago would be totally unimpactful against this younger group. And we've got this balance, this challenge of our existing market and the new market to come. But the new market has completely different ways of gathering information. It's entirely through the social media world, both search engines, but more importantly, influencers. They're very influenced by the influencers in Instagram and YouTube and other vehicles like that, and through advertising more directly through the social media world where they live. And so we need a whole different marketing attitude. My key bit of advice is to every company, hire somebody who's 22 to get involved in their marketing, because they're going to understand it intuitively in a way that you can't.
That's right. And as a category in general, do you think we need to go back to the idea of an umbrella campaign? Some of your thoughts on that, because we really need to grow the value of the category.
I think it's a combination of things. We need category support, and I'm pleased to see the Natural Diamond Council building its collective muscle, both expertise but also importantly resources, supported by the major diamond mining groups to enable it to do that task, and that's important. But the world has changed as well from the past, and these particularly younger consumers, they see the world through brands. And so we need also powerful brands to be communication tools. If you go into the social media world, it's a world populated by brands in the luxury goods sector. So we need those to work for us as well. And collectively, I think we can achieve that task.
So do you see a differentiation between generic diamonds and brands, or how do you see the market evolving, and what would you recommend?
Yeah, I think the world of diamonds is getting increasingly branded. I mean, I've seen some data recently where the majority of engagement ring consumers in China, India, and America say they bought a branded diamond.
Yes.
Now, okay, their definition of a brand and mine might be a little different, but it shows their attitude, this attitude toward wanting to have something that, and I think from a brand standpoint, it's about wanting to have something where they feel a connection to the values of that brand. They want to associate with that brand, and not just the diamond on its own. And I think we'll see that trend continuing. Will it mean that the end of generic? No. There will always be a market for the unbranded, but I think increasingly brand share will grow.
So that's an interesting point, but the brand is immersed in the generic category. So should there be a two-way discussion on this? What would you think?
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, the diamond is the valuable part of the offer.
Yes.
But I think we need to seek ways to, in effect, elevate every bit of the even what we call the generic. To me, well,
yes,
that can't just be generic. It has to stand for values as well. And so we need to look at ways that we can equip virtually any and all diamonds to carry some of these values. Obviously, the big luxury brands will do it in a different way, with design as well. But I think just having a diamond sell just as a diamond, without surrounding it with the positive values in terms of sustainability, people impact, the billion years that it's been in the ground waiting, it's not. It needs more. It's not transactional. It has to be emotive.
And you mentioned something about issues like inequity and diversity being major motivating forces for. So, is there something that we need to do specifically as a category to address this?
Yeah, and I think everyone in the category has to work out how they play their role, however small, however local. But one of the clever things that President Bush the first said was this concept of 1,000 points of light. If you want to change the world, you have to do it one step at a time. And everybody can make some step. For me, the big issues are income inequality, particularly geographic. And if we don't solve that problem as a world, we're going to have bigger problems. And certainly diversity is important to us, the role for women, particularly in the world, and do they have a fair shake in the diamond industry? But and climate change, clearly. But everybody could do something. Even if it's a simple, small step in their own little workplace, they can take the first step. And if we all take one step, then we're one step closer to the answer. And it can't just be big companies, huh?
Yes. Okay. And finally, you said that the next big market is women. I mean, you were talking. So is self-purchase the way to go? And how is Forevermark doing that?
It's an extraordinary opportunity for us. We can never lose the gift positioning and the symbol of love, because that's very competitive for us versus other luxuries. But the big luxury booms in the industry, outside of jewelry, is all about women buying for themselves. And as they become more and more economically empowered, it's like a whole new market. It's like China 20 years ago, sitting there for us to develop. It's already growing, but we need to think differently. Huh? We have different competitors in that, different selling environments, different motivational messages, and we need to really get our head around how do we make the diamond so appealing that it outcompetes in that sector. And if we do, we could double our market overnight. It's a great opportunity.
Stephen Lussier, CEO of Forevermark, thank you very, very much indeed. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.